Sport should be a space of participation, belonging, and dignity. Under international human rights law, taking part in sport forms part of the right to participate in cultural life. That right must be enjoyed without discrimination. It applies to everyone, including lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and other gender diverse people. Yet, LGBT people continue to face discrimination, harassment, and violence in sport. Bullying, exclusion, and abuse remain widespread. When people feel they must hide who they are simply to participate safely, the promise of equality is not being realized. States and sporting bodies have a responsibility to ensure that sport is safe and inclusive, and that individuals have access to remedies when rights are violated. Debates about transgender participation must be understood within this broader human rights framework. Questions about transgender participation, particularly in the female category, sit at the intersection of equality and non-discrimination, fairness in competition, and athlete safety. Under international human rights law, any distinction in access must pursue a legitimate aim and be necessary and proportionate to that aim. In simple terms, restrictions must be based on evidence, not assumptions, and they must go no further than required. The scientific evidence in this area is still developing and varies by sport. Research indicates that physiological characteristics relevant to performance may vary across individuals and can be influenced by factors such as prior hormonal development and gender-affirming treatment. Hormone therapy is associated with significant physiological changes. Whether any remaining differences affect competition depends on the sport and the athlete. These are complex, context-specific questions. Athletic performance reflects many factors: physiology, training, opportunity, resources, and resilience. No single biological marker tells the whole story. When rules rely on one characteristic alone, it raises important questions about fairness and proportionality. We must also acknowledge that women athletes, particularly women of color, have long been subjected to disproportionate scrutiny and invasive testing based on narrow ideas about femininity. Human rights standards require respect for dignity, privacy, and bodily integrity, and call on institutions to avoid reinforcing harmful stereotypes. Blanket bans on the participation of transgender women in the female category raise serious concerns. Such bans treat all transgender athletes as presenting the same considerations regardless of sport or circumstance. In the absence of clear evidence of necessity, categorical exclusion is difficult to justify as a proportionate response. Fairness in sport is a legitimate goal, but fairness and equality are not opposing values. They must be pursued together. Sporting bodies and public authorities must prevent violence and abuse, address inequalities in pay and conditions, and ensure that regulations does not deepen discrimination. The International Olympic Committee's framework reflects these principles. It affirms the right to practice sport without discrimination, rejects automatic assumptions of unfair advantage, and emphasizes evidence-based decision-making, prevention of harm, and respect for health, autonomy, and privacy. Sport has the power to bring people together across difference. Realizing that potential requires resisting oversimplification, rejecting stigma, and ensuring that responses to complexity are grounded in evidence, human rights, and inclusion, not fear, prejudice, or exclusion. Thank you.